Welcome to the Pepper Fox Podcast, where we believe that nothing will empower individuals and strengthen humanity more than theater and film. Throughout this podcast, we will be sharing our favorite tips for actors, headshot expertise, and ways we live a creative lifestyle. Tune in for interviews with actors living their dreams and creatives dedicated to enriching their own communities. I'm your host, Bre Welch, actor, headshot photographer, mommy, and lover of Dr. Pepper. Let's do this. Hello.
Hi.
It is that time of year. It is your friendly reminder to get health insurance. This is something we feel very passionate about because we know a lot of our friends who are artists who don't get health insurance because they don't think they can afford it.
Yeah, we've been there.
We've been there. We know. But also, we know a better way as well.
Yes.
We want to introduce you to our friend Lauren Sjogren. She is the best. She's life-changing.
Yes, and you know what? I remember when we first heard about Lauren and saw other actors and artists talk about her helping them, I thought it was a hoax.
Yeah, you think it's too good to be true.
Yeah, I thought they were getting something out of it. They were selling, and I was like, yeah, this isn't.
Yeah.
But I am so glad we looked into it.
Yes. We are not paid to do this.
No.
We just really want to let you guys know that
we just really like
Lauren is a master at just finding health plans for you. And she costs $0 to go and just like tell her your family's needs and just get a quote from her. Basically, she's just a master at going through and finding plans.
Yeah.
This is what she gets paid to do, so you don't have to pay her to do it. It's kind of incredible. The plan that we have been on, we've been with her for almost 4 years, I think, right? And the plans we've gotten with her have been perfect for our needs and exactly what, and it's just not
and incredibly affordable
yeah.
for anything else we've ever had.
Yes. She does dental plans. She does just generalized healthcare. And you can kind of tell her what your thoughts are for the year if you're planning to have some kind of surgery or anything like that. And she'll let you know what she thinks.
Yeah.
It's saved us thousands of dollars. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So what you do is you email Lauren. Here is her email address.
It is Lauren, Lauren at optimizedhealthplans.com.
I will link to it in my show notes.
Or you can go to www.optimizedhealthplans.com/Lauren, Lauren, or you can call her. She says we could give out her phone number. 801-669-7799. That's 801-699. Nope, sorry, that's wrong. 801-669-7799.
I think this is also a good time to tell you that Addison is dyslexic, especially when it comes to numbers.
Yes.
But you know what? I feel like you've overcome so much of that because you read scripts and because you have to do like cold reads and stuff.
It's really difficult, but thank you.
Theater saves our lives. It's amazing.
Yeah.
This week, we had the queen of all guests on.
The queen mother herself.
Addison's mom.
Melinda was here.
Melinda Welch was here. And Melinda wrote this really incredible blog post. She is a life coach. And it inspired me because I was like, yes, so many of my clients need to hear this. It was a blog post about how to like yourself better in pictures.
Yeah.
Something I thought that you either liked yourself in pictures or you didn't. I didn't know there was like
training for it, how to do
something
it.
You could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what I'm going to say.
So what I think like was really cool about what we talk about here is that it wasn't just about liking yourselves better in pictures and just something that kind of seems like, I don't know, like if you would like to do this, great. But we talked about how liking yourselves better in photos and liking yourself better in performance and loving just who you are creates, it's like a giant cycle and helps you in every other aspect of your performing. So as performers, I don't know, Addison, do you think it's like really important to like yourself? Do you think it's valuable as a performer?
Yes. I can't tell you how many times I've heard myself on this podcast and just tore my myself apart, tore my voice apart, and was like, oh my gosh, I sound like that.
Yeah.
Or see a picture, oh my gosh, I look like that. And I don't think you can be very successful in putting yourself out there if that's all you're seeing is the negative.
Yeah, if you're
And
your
you
own
can't
worst critic.
Love yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is perfect for a headshot photographer
Yes.
to have this topic, and also for people who need headshots, actors who perform and who are seen on film and on stage and in headshots, and to learn this.
Yeah.
Growing up with my mom she's all into self-help. She's all into getting to know people and helping you get to know yourself better. So we grew up always knowing our Enneagram type, our color code, our love language, what our essence was for clothing to wear.
Yeah, your season.
Yeah. All of that.
All of it.
We
dressing your truth.
Yes.
Everything. Yeah.
And so I grew up with that, and then it's just recently, last few years, where she went to school, studied to be a life coach, and has put all of that now into use, helping other people.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've heard her talk about times in the dressing room, because she's an actress herself. She's who got me into performing.
Yeah.
That's what she does. That's what she grew up doing, and is incredible. But she has told me stories about being in the dressing room, and all that the women talk about is their bodies and how they look, and tearing their body apart and in the mirrors as they're changing. And that's what all the conversation turns to.
Right. It's like that scene in Mean Girls where they're all like, oh my gosh, I hate this. Oh my gosh, I hate this.
Yeah.
I hate my nail beds. Like, and then they look at her like, aren't you going to join in?
Say something bad about yourself. Yeah. Oh, I hate my kneecaps.
Yes.
Yeah. And how when she was younger, she would feel like she needed to join in on that or let it go. And now she shuts that down. She has the tools and the knowledge now, and the confidence to shut that down. And I was kind of surprised at that, because I don't think I've heard that talk in my dressing rooms with guys. No matter their sexual orientation, I haven't heard that that's really the focus of conversation at all.
Yeah.
So not saying it isn't a problem or something that happens with men, but definitely with women, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I definitely have been in that dressing room before. And it is really hard to see outside of what is happening and to be coherent enough to say, hey guys, we're all okay. We're all beautiful. And instead of talking about what we're looking like and how we look like in the costumes and how we feel in the costumes, maybe what we can do is talk about what we do in the costumes. And oh my gosh, I loved how you did this last scene. I loved how you sang this. I love focusing on the actions and the actual things that we can control. I think will be really beneficial to us.
I like that. That was like the positives of the other people, and not the negatives in yourself.
And like, instead of commenting on your appearance, maybe it can be like, hey, I'd really like to work on this. Yeah. What do you guys think of this? Could you watch when I do this next scene? Could you, I think there's so much to be said about lifting each other up.
Yeah. So let's try to be better at that. Let's cut that out.
Cut it out. Let's get to Melinda.
Okay.
Hello, Melinda.
Hi, Bre.
This is so fun. I never get to record with family. It's the best.
Yeah, it'll be good, I think. I hope.
Oh, it will be amazing. Thank you for being willing to do this, because your expertise and your insight into this is like, it's so unique, and it's something that we don't talk about as much as we need to in theater. This is a hot topic for me. I love it. So I need to know, how did you become involved in theater?
So I have done theater because my mom did theater. So growing up, she choreographed and directed and was in shows all across the Wasatch Front. She helped with like Sweet Adelines and different high schools, and Promise Valley Playhouse was a big one. She worked a lot with Pat Davis, if anyone remembers Pat. She was wonderful, and Ralph Rogers. And she worked a lot with both of them. And so she dragged us along as kids, little kids. So we sat on the edge of the stage and we watched these amazing people on stage. And I just thought, I want to do that. So by the time I was in junior high, for sure, I just was doing it. I did a lot of theater, community theater and summer theater. And then I went to Weber State and graduated in theater.
Woo, woo.
Woo! And became a teacher and taught theater at Bountiful High for a number of years. And since then, I've also just performed myself across the Wasatch Front, from Ogden to Salt Lake mostly.
Yeah.
And I just love it. Musical theater is just my baby. It's my passion. But I love all theater.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you're in the right place. This is where we just have an addiction to theater, apparently. And, you know, it comes with the good and the bad and the ugly. We're going to talk about all of that today, because I feel like there's so much glamour about theater. There's so much where people sit and watch and idolize and think, I want to do that. I want to be that. And to be in that spotlight can hold a lot of pressure. And as someone who's done theater your whole life, I think you've gone through kind of the experience of having your body change and having your face change and having your castability change.
Right.
And now you have this awesome chapter of your life that started how long ago? 2 years ago?
Yeah.
When you started life coaching?
Yeah. So I got into life coaching 2 years ago. I've always read self-help books and always had, like, my mom was really big into that. And I remember growing up and I'd say, like, my brother makes me so mad. And she'd be like, he doesn't make you mad. You're choosing to be mad. And as, you know, a teenager, you'd be like, Mom, stop
How dare
it.
you?
But she was absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. So anyway, I had this foundation of self-improvement and life coaching for forever and ever. And finally, I thought, I'm just going to jump right in, because coaching helped me so much in different aspects of my life that I just wanted to then be able to pass that forward and help other people. Yeah.
What brought you into, like, life coaching before you thought of, like, actually becoming a life coach? What brought you into
So
that?
for me, it was all about the LGBTQ space. It was all about my sons coming out and how difficult that was for me as a mama, and how my world was so black and white up till then. And I had all the answers, and I just knew, I mean, you asked me, I knew how to parent. I knew all the stuff. And then all of a sudden my world was kind of turned upside down. I was like, wait, you mean the world is more, I don't even use gray. I use colorful.
Yes.
Because it's not black and white anymore. It's all the colors and all the nuance and all the shading.
Yeah.
And coaching really helped me to see all that.
Yeah.
And get out of my own way, out of my own misery, and open myself up to just love and compassion and curiosity for everybody, which is such a much more beautiful place to be.
Yeah. It just helps you live a more full life day to day. And I love that what you've taught me about life coaching, excuse me, getting verklempt. Just kidding. No, but what you've taught me about life coaching is that things aren't necessarily bad or good. Like, that's just it's a thing that we learn when we're kids. Like, who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? We watch for it in movies and we go, oh, is this a bad guy? And you think about that. We do it when we think about food. Mm-hmm. We do it when we think about theater. We do it when we think about content in theater. All sorts of things that we label in our head as good and bad. And a lot of what you've taught me is that that's not necessarily true. There is no concrete good and bad. It's all just choices.
Yeah, it's all just choices. You can put morality and different morals on top of those choices, and then they fit in different boxes, of course. But it's really your thoughts about any of that. It's your thoughts about all of that. There's so much more nuance than just black and white. There's so much more. And when you can help people understand that and see, oh, yeah, it is my thoughts that's creating my world for me. Yeah. Then your world gets better. Mm.
Because you can control that.
Yeah, you really can.
There's not a lot about the world we can control, especially right now.
Yeah,
but you really can control how you frame it in your mind.
Yeah, totally.
That's cool.
Totally.
Okay, so this is something I think a lot about with actors is this thought that I don't feel like a lot of times we have a ton of control. It's something that we, kind of get beat out of us a little bit of going, okay, I have to be willing to do everything, and I have to be willing to say yes, and that, right? That's our mentality all the time.
Improv mentality.
It's our improv mentality, and like thinking, oh, I have to do this because I'm not going to get cast, or I have to, or
this might be the only time.
Yeah, we have a lot of limiting thoughts around acting. I think, at least I do, and so learning that we can take back a little bit of that control, and that it all just is choices is really empowering. Right?
Yeah, it is. It is for me, and I think it can be for so many other actors as well. you want to be in the show, you want that part,
Yeah,
and
do
you
anything
go
to do
for
it.
that, and then you're in the audition itself, and you totally sabotage yourself. You get all in your head about it, and you start comparing and despairing, and why aren't I, this person and as pretty as that person, and you totally make yourself small before you even stand up to audition.
Yeah. Because all of your thoughts are making
Because all
you
your
small.
thoughts are just like forcing you down, 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 instead of being in this beautiful place with your thoughts of gratitude, and the audition is the thing. And if the part is supposed to be for me, then I will totally get it. And if it's not supposed to be for me, no big deal. There's something else in my future.
Yeah.
Those thoughts are so much more empowering. And then they move you into this audition space in a beautiful, open energy instead of in I'm so afraid. What am I doing here?
Yeah. And then you actually perform better.
You do so much better.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like letting yourself know that it's okay not to get the audition will actually help you
Get the
succeed in
audition.
that. Man, our brains really sabotage us.
Because you can just relax into it, and you move out of this scarcity mentality into an
Yeah.
abundance mentality,
Yes.
and then everything opens up.
I love that. Let's talk a little bit for people who are new to like life coaching and maybe gratitude, a little bit about like the lower brain versus the higher brain.
So the brain is much more complicated than lower brain, higher brain.
Sure.
But for our purposes, we're just going to split it up to those two parts. So you have your lower brain, which is, some people might call it your reptilian brain or your lizard brain, your monkey brain. There's all sorts of names for it. And it actually is at the base of your skull.
Yeah.
Your lower brain, and it basically wants three things. It wants to avoid pain, help you as a person avoid pain, seek pleasure, and do everything as instant and fast habitually as possible. So
Wow.
those three things. So what does that look like? So avoiding pain, it wants to kind of keep you in fear, because if you try something new, you might fail. You might
you might get hurt.
might be picked on. You might be hurt. So don't do that. Don't try anything new or different or change.
Yeah.
The lower brain hates change. Does
Mhm.
not like it at all. It wants to do seek pleasure, but it wants it like quick pleasure. So that's why we scroll on our phones, and why
Yes.
we eat all the sweets, and we might too much shopping, too much of anything. It likes too much of all of that stuff.
Just that immediate
Yes,
response.
too much Netflix, too much video games, too much whatever. It loves that immediate response. And then it likes habits. It wants to make everything into a habit.
Mm.
So we have about, the scientists who study this say, about 60,000 thoughts a day. That is a ton of thoughts. And most of them are subconscious, and most of them are habitual, so we don't even think about it, right?
Yeah.
So now, as a 50-something-year-old, when I drive my car, I don't even give a second thought.
Right.
Where does this key go? How do I shift? What are these
It's all
pedals?
just
But as
automatic.
a 16-year-old, I was all about that, like,
Right.
oh my gosh, what if I do this? So everything's habitual. But that's true for so many things in our life. It's also true for how we talk about ourselves. It's become habitual.
Wow.
Because our lower brain loves things to just kind of settle down into this nice little boxes.
Mm.
So our higher brain, which is our prefrontal cortex, which is actually in the more front part of your skull, is your doing brain, is your gratitude brain. It's where actual things, like your lower brain can offer up thoughts all day long, but it can't actually make you say, go eat that food, that sugar looks so good. But your lower brain's not going to actually stand you up and move you to the fridge to go get the food. It's your higher brain has to get on board with that for you to actually move
Has
forward.
to approve the action.
Yes, approve
Okay.
it.
I get it.
Okay, so you have these two parts of your brain, and what's happened so much as actors is we get stuck in that lower brain part.
Because we're scared.
Because we're
Because we're
scared.
put in this place of
Change.
I don't know if I am good enough, and I'm always auditioning for the next show. And so we're constantly picking on ourselves.
Yes.
Right.
And it's picking on us, this inner critic that we have, because it thinks it's keeping us safe.
Right.
If we don't audition for that show, we won't have rejection, and rejection doesn't feel very great,
No.
right? And if we don't, we don't put ourselves out there, then we don't have to worry about, being slapped down or being put down. Okay, that also, if we don't put ourselves out there, we're not going to get the part. If we don't audition, we're not going to be able to move forward in our careers.
The good things won't come either.
Yeah, they won't come.
It's neutral.
So,
right.
and those things, if we can move to our higher brain and work in gratitude instead of staying in our lower brain and working out of fear, our lives will be so much better.
Mm.
Can you see how that's true? Like
Yeah.
gratitude when you audition for a part, just be grateful that you're even there, that
Yeah.
you're even alive, that you even have legs that got you there, a car that you had money to put gas in to get there. I mean, and I think you've experienced that, how important it is to be in gratitude for your audition.
It's crazy. It's crazy because the research shows too that you gratitude is the easiest, quickest way to get you into your frontal brain.
Right.
And your frontal brain will help it so that it's almost like if you were standing on the back of your heels, like your lower brain, and then if you were to be up, forward, and in action, that's what going into the frontal brain does for you as a person. So if, let's say, like the accompanist messed up a note or whatever, and if you're in that lower brain, you're going to be like, oh my gosh,
it's
are
over.
you kidding me? And you won't be able to recover, and you won't be able to figure it out. And if you're in that frontal brain and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful I have an accompanist. I'm so glad that I'm here. I'm grateful I had a chair to sit at, and so I didn't have to stand out in the hall. Anything that you can pull, all of a sudden your brain is quick and it figures it out, and it just changes. So it's just like that self-sabotage. We are causing ourselves to sit in the back of our heels and not be flexible and not be able to adapt quickly.
Yeah, I love that. I love that analogy of heels or you can feel that with your body, right?
Yes,
you're
totally
ready to go
can.
and you're excited and have this good energy about you.
Yeah, like a cat.
Yes.
You can be like on the front like a cat. But like, yeah, I feel like it changes everything about your demeanor.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, you can see that as a person who watches theater. You can see people who are self-conscious. You can see people who are in their brain thinking about, oh my gosh, am I going to hit that note? Am I going to do that? You have seen it in actors.
Yeah, and then you sabotage yourself, like you said.
Yeah.
And then you don't hit that note. And
Yeah.
you don't come across as you want to come across. And you don't remember your lines. And
because it's all your brain can think about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really interesting. They talk about how with riding your bike? What is it? Where if you are looking at a place when you're on your bike, you will start going towards that.
Yeah.
Right. So instead of like keeping your eye on the prize, if you're sitting there focused about that one note or that you will gear yourself towards missing that one note.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
Our
Your
brains
focus
are so
is
powerful.
everything. And also what we're going to talk about is about photos and pictures of ourselves, and what we focus on. It's amazing because other people aren't focusing on those mistakes and those mess ups. We are.
Okay, so this is a perfect transition because I take headshots and I 100% know the reaction I get from people when I've taken a good photo technically and something that I think is beautiful, but they hate their photo. I have run into it a handful of times, and there's nothing that I can do as a photographer for those people. And it breaks my heart because I can't do that work for them. And then you posted this awesome blog post a week ago. And I immediately called you and was like, Melinda, we need to talk about this on the podcast because for me, I've thought in my limiting mindset, I've thought there's nothing I can do for that person. There's nothing that will help them like themselves better. And so I can take a photo that I think is great and it doesn't matter. All that person will see, my client will see, the person that I care about the most is the flaws and the things that they hate about themselves. And I can't help them see what I see.
Right. And 100 people will tell them that is a beautiful picture and they will say, I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is our caveman mentality. This is our lower brain. Why do we not like photos of ourselves?
Okay. So our lower brain, if you let your lower brain take over, first of all, it thinks it's keeping you safe by not liking that picture. By you finding all the flaws and the fault with the picture before anybody else does, then you can armor up and be prepared for the world to come and get you, right?
Right.
So it thinks it's like, okay, let's find everything that's wrong with this picture. So if anybody else points it out, we already know.
We've all been in this situation where someone will show us something and they'll be like, oh my gosh, but I know that this and this and this.
Look at my thighs. It's like, are you kidding me?
And you're like, I wasn't thinking that, but now I am. And you're in this awkward position where you're like, oh, I didn't see that, but you did. And you can tell that that's the only thing that they see.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking, right?
Right.
It's awkward.
And it's this, once again, it's that lower brain. It thinks it's keeping you safe.
Yeah.
It's trying to armor. So you're armored up and you're ready to, so if anybody gets after you, it makes it so you stay part of the tribe, because back when caveman times, right? If you got kicked out of the tribe, you really would die.
Right. You had to have
people around you for, fire and food and shelter.
Yeah.
But now we do not. We can be kicked out of the tribe and be just fine.
Right.
But our lower brain still thinks it's really important that we're not, right?
Right.
So picking out faults is really important to the lower brain. And then it wants to do it. Whatever you focus on, that's what you're going to see.
Yeah.
Whatever you focus on. And if you hate your nose, every picture that you see, you're going to be like, oh, but my nose, I can't stand my nose. And nobody else is seeing that.
No.
No one else is seeing that.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not trying to make people feel dumb for being self-conscious. That's the last thing that I want. These thoughts are valid. I understand that there are insecurities, and we all have them. We all have them. That's kind of the beauty of talking to people about this, is realizing that, even in headshots, every person will tell me, oh, I don't like my teeth. Oh my gosh, I don't like it when you take a picture of this side of my face. I have a favorite side of my face. They will always tell me what they're self-conscious of, and I respect that. And I totally understand, because we are all at different places with this. But we want to give people some tools, so if they are struggling with this and it's something that eats them up, because it almost is an addiction.
Right.
It's something that you can get very obsessive about.
Right.
And you can work out, and you can get plastic surgery, and there's all these things that we try to do to manipulate how we look. But in the end, it is an addiction, and it's something that I don't think we'll ever be able to physically change.
Well,
and then
but so many people do. They really spend all the money, all the surgeries, and go to their way to really physically change till they get to the point where they're going to love their face or whatever. Yeah. And especially in, the performing arts,
all the
theater,
time.
movie, TV, it's all about your looks, your castability.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we all need to look young. That doesn't mean we all need to look flawless. Think about the range of characters in a TV show or in a movie.
All types are needed.
All types. The only place where everybody needed to look flawless is if, like, you're doing, what is it, paint and place, or what is it, those crazy, where everybody was perfect, like a Barbie doll, perfection, you know?
Oh my gosh.
That would be so boring if every show was like that.
Oh, absolutely. And it's something that I think we manipulate ourselves in order to look like people and say, oh, who do I look like? But the truth is, the most interesting thing is being original, is being yourself. And you can't look like anyone else if you're going to do that. Right. And so it's about becoming less perfect and more interesting for me. And I think that is more long lasting. Yeah. Correct?
And so if you can look at, so it takes compassion for yourself and for your photos, and curiosity. What that is so interesting that, why do I hate my nose? Where did that start? And have compassion around that, instead of being like, all the time. It's just a nose. It's just a nose. And it's an interesting nose.
Yeah. So you started on a journey about a year ago.
Yes.
You were determined to love photos of yourself.
Yes. Well, I'm to the point where I'm in my 50s. It's like, man, I do not look like I looked 20 years ago. And so do I get surgery? And I'm not saying surgery, if that is your gig, then great. But it wasn't my gig, and I was like, do I start doing shots and surgery and this and that? And I thought, no, what I need to do is just start loving myself better. So instead of not taking pictures, I took a ton of pictures.
Yeah, because that's our first thing, right? Is just go, I'm not going to be in any more photos.
Yeah, so many people hide.
I'm going to take the photo. I'm going to make sure I am behind my kids. I'm going to make sure
they hide, they position, or they're never in a picture, which is the worst thing you can do, because your brain loves things that are familiar. So the more pictures you see of yourself, the more you'll be like, oh yeah, that's just me in a picture. Instead of like, oh, what is that?
Oh, totally. Right? And then it's almost like, then when you age a couple years and then you look at a photo of yourself, you're like, wait.
So I look so much better here, but no, I just looked different here. Better is not, that's just a thought, right? It's not a truth.
What does that mean?
It's just
to
different.
Anyone? Yeah, it's different for everyone. So it's about, I looked different then.
Yeah.
That's it. Just the neutral thought.
A new thought. Yeah. So, and your brain, and it is interesting though. I think this is interesting, because where we see ourselves the most is in a mirror. Mm-hmm. We see ourselves the very most in a mirror. Your bathroom mirror, most likely, where you get dressed, or morning and night. But a mirror flips your picture on a vertical axis. Your image on a vertical, like when you hold up a piece of writing to a mirror, you can't read it. It's backwards.
Right.
So you're seeing yourself backwards. Flipped.
All the time.
All the time. That's how you see yourself. But a photo is not flipped. It is not backwards. So sometimes when you're looking at a photo, there's this, it just doesn't quite look like me. But because you're so used to seeing this flipped image of yourself in a mirror.
Especially for those of us like me who have a very asymmetrical face. At least that's how I see myself. Hello. But I don't think anyone else notices.
No one notices.
But it's one of those things where I go, my smile doesn't go up on that side. It goes up on that side. Wait, what? Right. So it's unnerving for us because we're not used to that.
So that's interesting. First of all, is just that flip, right?
Yeah.
And then the second, we're so used to seeing other people straight on, and in photos, they still look straight on, right? They look.
Yeah.
So in a picture of like me and all my family is exactly how I see them. Me, I don't see me like that. I see me in a mirror.
And you're going, what? I don't part my hair on that
a little
side.
Different in that picture.
That's so interesting. And so our lower brains take that and say, that's not familiar.
Yeah, that's not familiar. There's
incorrect.
Something wrong there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When really it's
Just
literally
is.
however everyone else is familiar with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very
So that's the first thing.
Yes.
So once you get moved past that, then it's like, okay, well, not every picture is not glamorous, but is a picture that actually a professionally done picture, just like a snap here, a snap there. So then you have to move to the point of, okay, so that's a picture of me, and look, I'm grateful to be alive to have that picture taken. That's what I looked like in that 1 second when that picture was taken.
Yeah.
That's it. That one flash of time, that's what I looked like.
Yes.
I don't look like that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what's interesting? I take a lot of production photos, right? Like people in shows. I take these photos. There are some incredible performers that are amazing that I cannot catch a good photo of. And it is because they are so focused on what they're doing and their objectives and being in the moment. And I'm catching them speaking and I'm catching them thinking and being 100% expressive in themselves, right? And then there are some people that are like doing a wonderful performance and they are taking great photos, but they also are finding their light and they know I'm there and they are aware and they are forward for me. And so it's very interesting. I have a lot of people who will come and tell me, oh my gosh, is that really how I look? And I go, no, it's not how you look. It is one split second that our eyes, our actual eyeballs as a human beings do not catch. They catch all of the things that you hope they catch. Yeah,
because we see it in flow and the picture just segments it out.
Yes.
Right?
And so it really is not, it's not a good depiction of how, when people get self-conscious of that.
Because why be self-conscious? That was like one little second, 1 nanosecond even. It wasn't even a second.
Yes.
A moment in time. That's all that is. And if you have enough pictures taken of yourself, which we do nowadays with our phones and selfies, there's no reason for you not to have a ton of pictures of you. And some are going to be really flattering, you think, in your head.
Yeah.
And some are going to be like, ugh. But the point is, they're just pictures. And it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Because anyone else would look at that picture and say, oh, that's you being expressive on stage.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, that's the worst picture I've ever seen of you. You know?
Oh, totally.
Nobody thinks that but you.
Yeah. So we can start loving ourselves better in pictures. What is an actual like exercise we can start doing as we look at these photos of ourselves?
Okay. So what I did a year ago is 3 things. So I got a picture that I really loved of myself.
Okay.
And one that I really did not like of myself. And I did like 90 seconds, like a page of writing. I looked at that picture and I said, what do I love about this? And I wrote, and it's not just thinking, it's the actual writing of it down with your hand and your eye that really helps you keep your thoughts. They're not so slippery. And it keeps you focused in your process.
Yeah.
So write down for 90 seconds, set a timer, everything you love about that picture of you. Everything you love about it. Okay, now for 90 seconds, take the picture you don't like and write everything that you don't like about this picture of you.
I'm sure that is really shocking to see actually written down.
Yeah,
the thoughts that we have about ourselves.
Absolutely. And then you can start seeing some themes even, like, do you think a good picture of you is when you look thinner?
Yeah.
Is that like your list of this is what I like about pictures of me, or when it's just taken on the right side, or with your hair is it down, or your hair's up, or whatever.
Yeah, you'll start noticing patterns.
Yeah, some patterns. So then take that same picture of you that you hated and now try to be as neutral as you can about it in your writing. So you're right. I have a dress on. The dress is pink. My hair is brown.
Facts.
Yeah, just facts. Anything that anybody could prove in a court of law, we say, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm standing in front of a chair. My eyes are green. Whatever, just facts, just straight facts. And you can see when you wrote what you loved about a picture, what you hated about your picture, and then the facts, you can feel it different in your body when you were writing. You can feel it.
Yeah.
And how loving and compassionate you were towards yourself when you're thinking compassionate, loving thoughts.
Yeah.
And how, downgrading and, rude you were to yourself, and the feeling that you have, that yucky feeling you get inside when you think really yucky things about yourself.
Yeah.
So, and then the neutral one, how the neutral feelings, like, yeah, that's a chair, that's this. So then I decided, well, what I want to do is when I look at all my pictures, either feel neutral or really great.
Yeah.
That's the process I took. So what's funny though, so Bre took some headshots of me and she's like, which ones do you like? I'm like, I like them all.
I loved it.
I just
It was my
loved them
favorite.
all.
It was the best.
She's looking
What's
at me
so
like,
fun though is that we've taken photos before, and I could tell that even in just taking the photo, you felt different. You felt different, and you weren't self-conscious. You were just going, this is me. Here I am. And that made the actual photos turn out better, and it made you like them better when you saw the gallery.
Yeah.
So it affects us, even our actual performance, talking about as we are performing and we are trying to be less self-conscious. Even just, it's not just about the product. It's not just about that part. It's actually about how it affects your performance later.
The energy going in, right?
Yeah.
So because the more you can talk nice to yourself, be compassionate to yourself, be curious about, what you like and don't like, then that changes everything. That changes your energy. That changes how you relate to the world, how you relate to other people, right? And it's not a selfish act to take the time to do this at all. No. This will then free you up for the rest of your life when you look at pictures. Yeah. It's just,
and it will allow you to be in pictures with your grandkids, with your kids, and make those memories that will come back.
Instead of being like, oh, look how old I look or whatever. Be like,
I'm like,
no, that's
when you're
me.
90 years old, you will want to have those photos. And you'll want to be in those photos. Because, I mean, we'll go through this dysmorphia of thinking, oh, if only I could have been as thin as I was
so much
last
better.
year. If only I could have, and yet it's all beautiful.
Yeah.
And
it's just different.
Yes.
It's just different. So the other thing that happens with your pictures and with photos of yourself is you have this inner critic that pops up and is always telling you everything that's wrong with it. Yeah. So when that happens, you just have to really work on silencing the inner critic, just silencing that lower brain and saying, I hear you. That's how we used to talk. We don't do that anymore. Now we think, oh, look, she has green eyes. Those green eyes are great. Or there she is. Look,
so it's
so
not
happy she's
necessarily
alive.
about taking that thought and saying, oh, that's a bad thought. It's not about shaming yourself that you actually had the thought. Mm-mm. It's about saying, hey, I understand that we felt that way, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah, we're going to work on this now. Yeah.
That's a lovely way.
I think a really nice, loving parent would say that to you, right? Yeah. If you went to your mom and you're like, oh, look at this, she'd be like, are you kidding me?
Like, you are amazing.
You have brown eyes that the same as your grandpa Jim or whatever. You are so lucky to have those brown eyes. And look at that beautiful smile and,
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about how this applies to our physical being, right? And I think that's a lot of what we deal with as actors, especially theater actors. We seem to be a little bit more disconnected with it because we are not used to seeing ourselves on film.
Right.
Right? But I also think that this is something that can apply to all the other aspects of our performing, whether that be our singing, voiceover work, and even just our acting. Is there anything we can do as theater performers who don't have to see that side of us very often to get more used to it and to get to a place where we love what we do and we can say, yeah, that was the best I could do at that moment. Here it is.
Yeah, well, that's it, right?
Yeah.
It's that compassionate voice, that curiosity, being curious about what's going on in your head instead of being so judgmental.
Yeah.
We're really good at, as theater people, having directors and choreographers in the rehearsal process tell us how to improve, how to change.
Yeah.
Try this, try that. And usually we don't sit there and beat ourselves up. Oh my gosh, the director gave me 3 notes. It's like, great, the director gave me 3 notes. I can work on this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But when our own brains offer it up, it's just like, whoa, I'm the worst person ever. I can't believe they gave me 3 notes. It's like, oh my gosh, brain, settle down.
It's okay.
It's okay. Everything's fine. They did this because they love me. They did this because they want my performance to be better. So they did this because they can see, that I actually have a place to improve too.
Right.
And so it's all about talking to your brain and not just listening to your brain.
Cool.
We think what the brain offers us a thought that is just true.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just
how it is.
Yeah.
But that's just our brains.
That's just our brain. So once you recognize that and you go, oh yeah, I did used to think that, or I am thinking that. Why am I thinking that? That's so interesting. And then if you want to write about it again, I call it daily pages, not necessarily a journal, because a journal feels like you should keep it and pass it on to your family. These daily pages, you can just put a title even at the top of the page and write, get all your thoughts out, and then look at those thoughts and go, oh, that's interesting, and just kind of be curious about what's happening in your brain. Yeah. And then you can wad those up and throw them away. You don't have to have anybody else read them or anything. And it's so, so helpful. It's helpful, issues about your body. Yeah. Issues about your performance, issues about photos, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting as you were talking about like the exercise that you did to see what the actual facts are and then to see how far our brains go in order to keep us safe and to help us be, I don't know, a little bit more comfortable, that they just go so far in order to not be, they don't want to, it's weird that we have this fear of being stupid or being the last one that knows or that being, and that is usually we're the only ones thinking it.
Yeah.
We're the first people there and the last people there. Yeah. And we have to understand that that's not the actual fact. Go back to that actually can prove in court fact and see how far you've gone. That's what I think would be super interesting about actually writing down the bad thoughts. When I've actually like put the bad thoughts to words and gone, oh my gosh, like that is so rude. Why would I say that to myself?
Yeah, I would never say that. You would never say that to anybody else, to your best friend or your son or whatever. You would never say that out loud, but we say it to ourselves so much. Yeah. And we have to stop and be aware of that and be able to go, okay, brain, settle down. We don't think that way anymore. We don't talk like that anymore. Here's what we do now. Yeah. And just kind of move. It's that, it's hard to move from, I love my body, I hate my body, to I love my body. It's all the steps in between that are so important. And that's what you're doing when you're writing it down and when you're kind of calling your brain on your own stuff. Yeah. Saying, okay, brain, we're trying not to think like that anymore. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But I love that it's not even about lying to yourself. No. It's not about saying, no, I love this photo, even though I hate it. Yeah. Like it's not, because I don't think your brain is so smart. It knows when you're lying, and then it's just trust.
You don't love that photo.
And then and I feel like that's just such an easy way to discredit it and be like, oh, well, I can't trust that anymore. So it's about being 100% truthful. It's about saying this is the neutral way, and then the way that we frame it to ourselves and the way that we talk about it to ourselves is kind. Yeah. Just be nice.
So what I say now when I look at any photo of myself, oh, there's me. There I am. That's what I looked like in that picture. Yeah. Grateful to be alive.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, that is a terrible photo. We do this to ourselves. I mean, I hear it all the time. I really do. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I blinked. I can't believe and I'm like, you're a human being. No. You're fine.
We're so funny, right? Yeah. Our humanness is so interesting because we only want to feel good emotions. We only want to take good pictures. It's like life is all of that. Life is the good picture and the bad picture. Life is the good emotions and the hard emotions. Yeah. And that's what's so great about life. Yeah. That's what makes us human, is just enjoying it all and going, yep, that's what life looks like right now.
Yeah. I love that too. Thinking about how we were talking about gratitude, that it's not necessarily going straight to joy. Right. It's not about going, I love being in auditions and I love getting chosen and out of thousands of people and I loved it. It's not about that. It's not about lying about the experience. It's about what can I pull? What little things can I say that I am grateful went well today? What am I grateful for? Yeah. It's such an easier segue into authenticity because we're not lying to ourselves.
Right. And it moves into that higher, prefrontal cortex and this higher energy, this gratitude energy. So back to so for example, if you just put all this positivity on your walls and you have all these awesome statements, but you're not feeling any better about yourself or things aren't, it's because your brain's doesn't believe it yet. Your brain's thinking
it just
you don't love your body. What are you talking about? I see how you treat yourself. I see, all this stuff. But if you move in baby steps towards that, then your brain gets on board. So let's say you move from I hate my body to I love my body. I hate my picture to I love my picture. So I hate my picture. There's a picture. Sometimes pictures are flattering. Sometimes they're not. Pictures are interesting. All sorts of people take interesting pictures. Pictures don't just all have to be beautiful pictures. You know what I mean? All these different steps
little tiny
towards
things.
I love my pictures.
Yeah. I'm grateful I have hair.
Grateful I could get a picture taken.
Yes. I'm grateful I could pay for a photographer. I'm grateful I could whatever. And I think that's such an easy way to just grab the little tiny things. Right. So I worked for Walt Disney World. You know this. I'm telling everyone else.
I saw you.
I'm telling everyone else. So I worked for Walt Disney World as a character performer. And it was just a whole, like you were saying, it's the good, the bad, it's everything in between. And, when you first get the job at Disney, you think, oh, this is the dream. I've made it. I've peaked. This is it for the rest of my life. And it was such a dream come true. And days were all of in between. It was nightmarish and it was beautiful and incredible and magical.
Just how it should be.
From 5 minutes apart. Like just completely whiplash all the time, which was great. Like I learned so much. I learned so much. And the thing that I have come to kind of take away from the experience now 6 years later is just that, you know, there are a lot of jobs, especially in theater, that have to do with our bodies and how they are looking. And now 6 years later, thinking back to what I looked like and looking back at pictures and glorifying those images and that idea is really difficult being where I am now. And it's something that I think I thought I was really alone in. And now, since everyone has been furloughed and a lot of people are moving in different directions and progressing. And a lot of the girls that I knew that worked there with me are now not there anymore because they've aged out and they've taken other jobs and they've moved across the country and they've, you know, whatever. It's really interesting to think of how alone I thought I was, and now to realize that all of these girls were dealing with the same kind of body issues and comparisons that I was back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I don't want this to sound like it was the worst thing ever, because it wasn't. But the truth of the matter was that some of the darkest moments of working there was thinking that I didn't look good enough and having a job that was based solely on my image and my body. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And not just face, body. I mean, it was everything. It was Ariel. It was everything. It was, so now looking at that and going through this journey of like being okay with myself without makeup and being okay with whatever I look like in my swimming suit and all of that, it's been a lot of work, personal work that just in order to survive and in order to continue working, I've had to work on. And a lot of that has to do with the thought that your body is not an ornament. It's not something to be looked at, but it's an instrument. And being at a job that it was literally ornamental and had nothing to do with what I could actually do, any of my skills or talents or anything that I can control really without surgery, was something that I had to rewire out of my brain that I still had value, even if I wasn't dressed in glitter and sparkles and wig and all of that. And I think this is something that a lot of theater people can relate to, is that you get to be in the most beautiful costumes and you get to wear the most amazing things and you get to live in a life that is exciting and different and not yours and escape.
And
right?
People clap for you.
And people clap for you after. And then you go back to real life and the show is over, and literally the next day, it's hard to imagine that you ever did it in the first place. It's so hard. It's like you just have to live two different kind of lives. And that's really hard to come to terms with. How do you come to terms with, how would you help a client who is having a hard time after all of the glitter and sparkles are done being good with themselves?
Right. Well, in life coaching, we teach the model, and the model is there's circumstances, then you have thoughts about those circumstances. Those thoughts create feelings move you to actions, and the results you get in your life. That's the model that I teach. That's the model that works to help so many people get out of their own misery. So your circumstances are just, my body, or what Disney decided to say about my body. Whatever anybody says is your circumstances.
Yeah.
And then you can think about that however you want to think about it. And then those thoughts move you to whatever feelings you're going to have. If you want to be feeling crappy about your body all the time, it's your thoughts that are moving you there. It's not what Disney said. It's not what other people said. It's absolutely your thoughts. So it does take working on it, and it takes really examining those thoughts and finding the thoughts that serve you better instead of thoughts that keep you trapped and stuck and living in the past, all those things. So that's what we really do work on with life coaching. So it's not really a quick fix, but it's absolutely fixable. It absolutely is something that if you want to, you can move from, I hate my body to I love my body in a new area, not just on stage in all the glitz and glamour, but just like I wake up in the morning and I'm so grateful that I have this body that moves and can do things and can have babies and can, play with my kids and pick things up and move people and paint walls. And I mean, that's pretty great. Yeah. The instrument that's our body, it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. Yeah. So it's about kind of making sure that we're realizing the things that we're grateful for and naming those things, like gratitude list, gratitude practice, all of that.
And then I love the idea of just familiarizing yourself with your image, right? In real life, it's about like taking those photos and not just posting, hey, there's this one time I was on stage and it was the best thing of my life, and glorifying that moment over and over and living that moment. But it's about, hey, look what I did today. Look, I painted this wall. Look, I did my hair. Right? It's about like familiarizing yourself with images and stories and videos and ideas of normal life as well.
Right. 50-50 life, right?
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful concept, that life's 50-50. Emotion is 50-50. Everything we do is 50-50. And you can see that's really true. Even in your day, like 50% of your day was probably really, above average, happy, good, confident. And then 50% of your day was maybe boring or sad mundane,
Yeah.
And that's life. That's working at Disney. That's
Yes.
being in a show.
Yes.
Think of all the crappy parts about being in a show.
Yeah. And we don't take pictures of those.
No, we don't take pictures of
So
those.
we remember and glorify these other moments.
That's
yes,
right.
It's so true. Well, and like at Disney, we weren't allowed to take pictures
Yeah.
of any of the other moments, which was sad because a lot of the times when I really connected with the girls backstage or anything, I don't have images of that.
No.
I don't have a remembrance of that. But really, it's about kind of the fuller part of life of making sure that we take pictures of those backstage moments and those little tiny things that are good as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then seeing all of that and feeling all of that and not being afraid to feel all of that.
Yeah.
Feel, the sadness and the rejection and the boredom and the mundane. And then also feel the joy and the, compassion and the love and the excitement.
Yeah.
So all of that is important in the human experience. And that's really what we focus on in life coaching.
That is so beautiful. I'm so excited. We're gonna make some progress here. It's gonna be great.
So look at your pictures and love your pictures. Take a
Yes.
ton of selfies. Take a ton and just love them all because that's you.
Yeah.
And love you.
Yeah. And go for that gratitude first. Just go, what can I be grateful for in this photo? What can I, and don't just delete all the bad ones.
No, don't keep
Yeah.
deleting your bad. Just be like, yeah, that was me, whatever.
Yeah. And I'm grateful that we had this experience and I was with these people and
Yep.
I was, exactly. Amazing. You are a life coach, and where can we find you?
So you can find me at melindawelchcoaching.com. I am a life coach. I will coach anybody. I love coaching, but I specialize in helping the LGBTQ community, specifically parents of LGBTQ, family members, kids.
You got to go off your own experience.
Yeah, and I feel like I have
those.
so much to offer in that arena and just really help them get them out of their own misery, out of their own way, and just see the beauty in their life.
Yeah. Yeah. You're also on Facebook, Melinda Welch Coaching, and Instagram, Melinda Welch Coaching. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thanks,
being
Bre.
here.
You've been listening to the Pepper Fox Podcast. Love what you heard today? Go ahead, share it with your friends, and leave us a review. Get more actor tips and resources by visiting pepperfoxphoto.com and check us out on Instagram at pepperfoxphoto.